Hello, my name's Olurotimi Osha. I normally talk about American presidents and I also discuss US history and discuss laws, American laws that pertain to us. Now, I have a Juris Doctor degree from George Washington University Law School, and I also studied international human rights law. Did a program at Oxford University in England. I did criminal law, amongst other programs, as an exchange student, and I was also an intellectual property law fellow at Bocconi University in Milan, Italy. So, although I'm trained in the law and I have a law degree, what I say does not constitute legal advice. Today is February the 15th, 2026. It's Sunday, and I went to church today. And there were a number of interesting pointers and verses that my pastor raised today. One of them was about false prophets, right? He discussed the false prophets that Christ cautioned disciples about in the book of Matthew, that these false prophets would come and would be, performing signs and wonders, performing miracles, doing activities, and if it were possible, they would even lead astray the elect of those who are righteous and who are called, who do what is good, right? They're not corrupted. Um, but Christ was warning disciples and followers to beware of these false prophets because their end is damnation, right? The end is damnation. They are ravenous wolves in sheep's clothing. And of course, it reminded me of uh, Jide Iwarere. Jide Iwarere is a Howard University professor and clearly a lunatic. He's the one who apparently sent 40 cops to my home on May 16, 2023, after he had obtained a fabricated emergency evaluation petition. It was a work of fiction from his apparently demented mind. I didn't know, but I would find out that Jide Iwarere is a fabulist, is a pathological liar, and importantly, he's a perjurer because the document that he went to complete, that's the emergency evaluation petition. I've done videos giving the details of the contents of the emergency evaluation petition. And I even have a recording from him which proved that he's a liar, which contradict what he wrote in the emergency evaluation petition. My mom has since gone to court over the malicious uh, fabrications and lies in the emergency evaluation petition, including clarifying that Jide Iwarere is not my uncle. One of the lies he told in the emergency evaluation petition was that he was my uncle. He did not indicate that my family was around. He didn't provide their numbers. And, he wrote all sorts of things that were bizarre fabrications. And so that was ostensibly the reason why 40 cops came to my house, why they falsely imprisoned me, why they tasered me, shot at me, tear gassed me, and removed me naked from my apartment in handcuffs and dumped me completely naked in the middle of a suburban hospital in a lobby, naked in handcuffs, right? With women, people looking, gawking at me, ogling me, completely naked. You can imagine if you were a white woman who had been removed from her home without a stitch of clothing, removed from her home where she was not committing any crime, she was not assaulting anybody. I was living alone in my apartment, and then she's dumped in the middle of a hospital, spread eagled, completely naked. Imagine a white woman handcuffed and she's bloodied, right, by the cops, and they're filming her. You bet that would be a crime. The officers who filmed her, who took pictures of her, would be committing a federal offense, right, violating 18 USC section 1801, which is video voyeurism, right? And would have to register as a sex offender. Now, this is what they did to me. Uh, so I was kidnapped under color of law because I wasn't going out through a crisis or anything. They violated 18 USC section 1201. They violated 18 USC section 875, 18 USC section 371. They violated 18 USC section 1038 and 1030. They violated 18 USC section 241 and 242. They violated 42 USC section 1983, malicious prosecution. Now, so Jide Iwarere lied to these people, misrepresented. I'd never been hospitalized before. Like this. I've had surgery on my arm in Nigeria as a kid, private or hospital. My father paid for it. It was my private doctor. I had broken my arm, so I had surgery. As a kid in Nigeria. I've lived in America for 27 years now. Um, so still, my father was there. Came, I come from a loving family. My father was there, sat throughout the operation, right? When I woke up from my surgery, I saw my father. Of course, my father's late now. So I wasn't born, I didn't drop from a tree. I'm not a born bastard like Jide Iwarere. He told me he didn't know his mother until he was an adult, which is bizarre. If I were going through a mental health crisis like Jide Iwarere claimed, under the law and the decency, part of being a member of a civilized society is I'm afforded my family privacy rights. My family should know that I'm going through a crisis, right? And my family should be present. My family should be informed. My mother was never informed. After I was stitched at the hospital, because they shot me in the head. So these scars here, permanent scars, they're from the stitches from the hospital that nobody authorized. My family didn't authorize. I didn't authorize. Uh, uh, you know, it took several weeks. I had to inform my friend while I was in jail. I was wrongfully locked up in jail where they were trying to coerce me to take a plea bargain, all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Violating my constitutional rights. Um, my friend had to call my mom, tell her I was in jail, right? My siblings didn't know where I was. I have cousins here in America. My aunt, my mom's first cousin, is a psychiatrist. My mom has other cousins, first cousins that are psychiatrists in America. I have several, nobody knew where I was. But Montgomery County conjured up this crazy man, this liar, Jide Iwarere, and said he was my uncle. There's no consanguinity between us. There's no relationship between us. I met this man in America. I have had no relationship with him. The only thing is, he doesn't talk with my family. Nobody in my family know. Most people don't know him. My siblings don't know him. Very few, maybe one or two, but they don't talk to him. Nobody talks to him. We don't have any relationship with this loser, right? Jide Iwarere is a loser. But my mom doesn't talk to him, and I'm close with my mom, right? Nobody knew what was going on. So if there was something wrong with me, my family has a right to know. And by the way, I've been doing these videos, and fortunately, okay, the court, the obtuse judge finally has accepted that the psychiatrists, state psychiatrists, even in Maryland, have stated that no, I do not have a mental illness. I do not have a mental illness, none whatsoever, right? That's what I had said. That's what my family had said, right? So that's no trouble. So I get to sue the state of Maryland for wrongful involuntary commitment, right? But they have these false charges, right? And anybody, an idiot, would know that the false charges are just an instance of prosecutorial misconduct, right? To prevent me from being able to sue and from ensuring that the rogue cops who assaulted me, committed a kidnapping and a sexual offense upon me, are criminally prosecuted, right? That's what they're trying to forestall. That's what the rogue judge, the corrupt judge, and the rogue crooked state attorney has been trying to forestall, right? Because the police officer who shot me apparently had a criminal history before he even joined the police force. His name is Jeffrey Ray, right? And he has a history of violence, of assault, right? So that's who they sent to my home, who used racial epithets on me in an administrative hearing, right? So my family has never called the cops on me before. Now, how is it that I don't know, it's only in America that family calls, they call cops on themselves because some of these families, right, maybe they have health, they have life insurance on the person. They know the cops, especially black people, they know it's very likely that the cops, when they show up, they're going to kill the black person and then they get paid health, life insurance, So uh, my family is not like that. My family is in Nigeria. My family doesn't need America's life insurance policies, right? They won't kill their blood in order to get life insurance money, and that's what goes on in America, right? They kill family for life insurance money. So in any event, Jide Iwarere and Montgomery County, right? They deprived my family of of our family privacy rights with regard to HIPAA rules. And, they denied my family or me the decency and the empathy that you would typically show someone if they were really going through a mental health crisis or any sort of emergency. So the way I was dehumanized, right? You could see I was manacled in cuffs and everything. The way I was dehumanized, uh, you could see it was barbaric. I'm going to do another video in which I read the inconsistencies in the statements, right? The emergency evaluation petition, I was never shown that petition. For months, I was not shown the petition for months. I had to get it. It took a circuitous, I had to be jumping through all sorts of hoops to be able to get that um, petition, right? Because the state refused to give it to me. Now, it completely conflicts with the false, fabricated statements that the police gave Suburban Hospital and the various hospitals. The police fabricated a statement of somebody trying to stab his neighbors, trying to kill people, saying he was going to kill himself, trying to bomb people, all sorts of different statements, waving baseball bats. Now, in the emergency evaluation petition that Jide Iwarere wrote, none of that was present. Now, Jide Iwarere fabricated that the police informed him that I was that I seized my neighbor's phone. Doesn't say anything about me commit violence on the neighbor or anything. Now, of course, that was a fabrication because that wasn't what happened. On May 14, Jide Iwarere from nowhere, after I told him, I drew boundaries. That's my right. I'm an adult, right? I'm a middle-aged man, so I'm not his son. Even my father, my late father, respected my boundaries. My mother, my family, they respect, because my family is westernized. They're well educated, right? They're decent people, and they respect people's boundaries. They're not bullies like Jide Iwarere is. He's a village bumpkin, who's just a bully, right? A very domineering, annoying bully. And I guess that justice will be served. I hope justice will be served and he'll get what he deserves. The thing is that he collaborated with law enforcement and state officials, state actors to commit this crime. And but God is bigger than every one of them. And I trust the American public, eventually there'll be an outcry about the injustice, because it can happen to one person. If it can happen to me, if state actors, the apparatus of state can be abused, can be exploited to abuse one American citizen, they could do it to others as well, right? And so we have to be cautious. We have to be on alert. So Jide Iwarere, after I'd drawn boundaries and told him not to come to my house on May 14th, this lunatic then shows up again. Came May 13th, I told him not to return. On the phone, he shows up again May 14th. I open the door. Then he assaults me with this neighbor that he's talking about, Germashumi, who's an illegal alien who can't speak a word of English. Yes, there's some. Okay, that's the fact. I'm somebody I'm an American citizen and I'm an immigrant. I know for the most part most immigrants are hardworking. I have many Spanish friends at the gym that I worked out with. They stay out of trouble, they work hard. But there's some people who are criminals. Germashumi is not even a Spanish. I think he's Ethiopian or Somalian. I don't know. I'd never spoken with him before in my life. But he and Jide Iwarere came and assaulted me on May 14th. So they attempted to kidnap me. And then I screamed that you can't do this. I work for the federal government. And they got scared, dropped the phone. He fled, right? He and a younger man, I guess that was his son. Germashumi was, well, maybe 52 or so at the time, because I saw the false, fabricated, perjured peace order that he subsequently filed. So these are ex parte orders, by the way. So Jide Iwarere, they all fled, and apparently they had planned it with the police, right? They had planned this stuff with the police, and they all fled because Jide Iwarere had told me that he was in charge of the prison ministry or something from his church, right? So I think that's how he got to know the police, or how to, maneuver and manipulate them, because you'll find that at the detention centers in Montgomery County, right, majority, well, a not insignificant number of the law enforcement people, correction officers and whatnot, are Nigerians, they're Yorubas, right? So that's a way that he could have probably gotten a hold of someone to, to pervert the system and come and assault me and fabricate their story, right? Because they would respect him that he's a professor. And I don't know, two of his kids are lawyers, attorneys who practice, attorneys licensed in the state of Maryland, from what I understand. Um, so they assaulted me, they fled. My friend told me, call the police. So my friend spoke with the police, a guy who showed up, one of them, there are two of them that showed up, Sergeant Charles Drengwitz. That statement, what they wrote, is completely inconsistent with all the other fabrications they have. They have all sorts of various false reports. But importantly, what I want to talk about today is, as I was, so eventually they charged me with these false charges, right? After I was released from the hospital, because I was assaulted by the police, removed from my home, dumped to the hospital. And upon release, the police arrested me, and I saw the charge statement. Now, so it's been 3 years. This case is, it's been 3 years. Now I haven't had a trial. I haven't had a trial, but I've been locked up for 15 months. I've never been arrested in my life. I had an excellent job, six-figure job. I was working in the federal government. The judge had prevented me from working, placed me under house arrest, locked up for 15 months. I was placed under house arrest. My friends and God, God has been supporting me. God has been good. So what I wanted to talk about today was this issue of the false prophets, because Jide Iwarere, in a sickening fashion, right, he goes about preaching. He preaches on bosses. He's a false prophet. He misrepresents himself as a pastor. He's a fraudster. He's a fraud, right? I was watching one of the body cam evidence, because I've been waiting for trial, and it's bizarre that they're showing me things that happened after, right? After the incident, after the police tasered me, instead of focusing on what happened before and in the instant, for the false charges that I have. Because the police who shot me in the head claims I assaulted them, right? The three of the police officers who tasered me, I was over 20 feet away, I was backing, surrendering in front of my apartment, because I had no idea what was going on. Incidentally, on that day, I was scheduled for what I've learned is a hoax, a Navy General Officer Professions program, which Jide Iwarere was aware of, right? There's evidence of this. So I was backing them, and they tased me and all of that. They injured me severely. But the thing is, the police officers who shot me, who tased me, now claimed I assaulted them, right? So, but we have to get to trial, and they have to prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that I assaulted them, because it's a bold-faced lie, right? They're fabrications. They might be delusional. The cops might be delusional. Again, remember, the people who constitute cops, they're not our cream. They're not cream of the crop of society. They're they're flotsam, jetsam. That's all they are, right? They pull them from the dregs of society, right? Many of them are criminals. I was just watching the news that, in fact, a former chief of police was just convicted by the same state attorney that's charged me with false crimes that I have not committed, crimes I've not committed, and the same judge that has superintended this charade and malicious prosecution for 3 years against me. That's Judge James Bonifant, whom I have a judicial misconduct complaint against, right, for wrongful involuntary commitment, for perjury, committing perjury on the court, and for his violation of my 14th Amendment rights and other constitutional rights. So they've convicted a former chief of police, right? His name is David Michael Crawford or something, 74-year-old who committed multiple arsons and attempted murder, and he was chief of police in two different counties. At District Heights, he was chief of police. He was chief of police at where else? Laurel. Had a long career. Had been a major at PG County. Well, yeah, I think his name is D. Michael Crawford, right? 74-year-old. They just caught him. Apparently, his targets were people he and his wife had beef against, right? Former law enforcement officers, and that's why they probably investigated and caught him. How many people do cops target and kill? They caught him because he targeted former law enforcement like him, right? That's why they caught him and convicted him. He's serving, and he got multiple life sentences in other counties as well for this arson stuff. He's a multiple arsonist, right? And for attempted murder. And I think he got 55 years in Montgomery County. So you see, these cops, many of them are criminals. The standard to become a cop is not high in these counties and these states. Many of them are criminals. Actually, from my culture in Nigeria, only it's like a curse. If you become a cop, like in Nigeria, it's like you've been cursed, right? So it's nothing that's admirable to do to become a cop. And you can see how many of these cops here are crooked. The police officers, Charles Drengwit, falsified his police reports. Demarcus Coleman writes he's clearly intellectually challenged, falsified his police reports. There's evidence of it, but who enables them? A corrupt state attorney who files a malicious, who proceeds with a malicious prosecution, and a corrupt judge, James Bonifant, who should have dismissed the case, but it's letting it go because he's trying to coerce me to take a plea bargain to protect crooked cops and to protect his company MedStar, where he's a board on, because they wrote a false medical report for the police, violating my HIPAA rights. So he's trying to protect them. So he gets money, he gets bribed from MedStar Hospital because he's on the board. So he gets kickbacks from them, right, to pervert the course of justice. In any event, so this Jide Iwarere, what was sickening is that as I was reviewing the discovery material, after I'd been dumped in the hospital, the police, I guess, he's riding in the police car. That's Jide Iwarere. And you can hear him. Typically, I'd never been arrested before in my life. And then the fact that the police almost killed me. Typically, my family, somebody who loves me, people who love me would be alarmed. They would have called other members of my family, my friends. They would have alerted people. This guy, nonchalantly, he's preaching the Bible to this guy, talking about Jesus, talking about salvation, talking about being born in, he's disconnected from reality, right? They were battling to save my life because I was almost killed. This is what has been said in court, that I was almost killed. The judge said, I'm lucky to be alive. No, it's God. I'm blessed to be alive. I am blessed by God to be alive. God blessed me and kept me alive, right? My enemies cannot kill me. God blessed me and preserved my life. But this lunatic Jide Iwarere, right, like this in cognitive dissonance, right? He's not aware of the gravity of the situation. He's the one whose head should be checked. He's talking about the Bible, talking about, he's not aware of what he's done. He doesn't call my mother. For months, when I was locked up in jail, I was asking him to give me my mother's number. He refused. When I was at the hospital, I asked him, give me my aunt's number because she's a psychiatrist. He refused. He would be tormenting me, coming to jail, trying to torment me, harassing me, right? And eventually the jail, he'd come, he'd lie, he wouldn't say who he was, he'd ask to lie that he's a professional till I get there and I see him. The jail wardens or whatever were saying they were going to stop him from coming, and when they were going to stop him, he now came with his wife. His wife that, there's a report that says, that suggests that she has Alzheimer's, right? My mom doesn't talk to them. There's no love lost between uh, my mom and Jide Iwarere. And my mom made it clear, no, Jide Iwarere is not related to me. He had no authority whatsoever to petition me or ask me to go and see a psychiatrist. That's a violation. The state of Maryland violated my constitutional rights. You just don't arbitrarily take anybody and say they should go and do a psychiatric evaluation, right? That violates the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment, right? They've manufactured a false crisis, a false emergency, using somebody they conjured up and misrepresented as my uncle, impersonated him, right? Misrepresenting him, and got him to commit perjury. So state officials from Montgomery County suborned him to commit perjury. Now, whether he was the actor who initiated things, I don't know. He's lied, he's switched things up. He first told me when I was in the hospital, because I didn't know what was going on. He first told me when I was in the hospital several days after. He told me that, okay, he was the one who initiated the whole process. When he saw I ended up in jail, then he started lying. And these are all recorded in jail, the jail phone calls, right? The log, you can get them. The transcripts will show that Jide Iwarere kept switching his story. He's a liar. At one point, he said it was the Navy that got him to do it. At one point, he said it was the police who got him to do it, right? That they called him and said they needed him to get me to the hospital. But that was not what he told me the first time when I was at the hospital and he told me he was going to tell me what was going on. That wasn't what he told me. He did it maliciously. He said he did it to punish me for dropping the phone on him, right? If I drop the phone on him and tell him not to come to my house, that's not a crime. Everything he wrote in the emergency evaluation petition was a fabrication. And he's an elder at Forcey Bible Church. Forcey Bible Church, I wonder if their elders and their pastors are perjurers and murderers like Jide Iwarere, because what Jide Iwarere did was attempted murder. It was in a conspiracy to try and kill me. What is ironic is I had told Jide Iwarere that he was to be the beneficiary, was a placeholder on my my life insurance at the Department of the Navy. So was Jide Iwarere did he enter into an agreement with someone that if they'll get me killed, make it look like an accident, that I just went crazy berserk and I'll be killed by the police, and then they'll get a payout of $300,000 from the Navy. I had a life insurance policy with the Navy because I was working as a civilian, or as of that day, as an auditor in the Department of the Navy. Was Jide Iwarere trying to get me killed to get $300,000? The other thing is he hired an attorney to try and get power of attorney over me, right? My father was a bank CEO, right, and bank chairman, and he's late. Was Jide Iwarere trying to use an attorney to take over my family's assets in Nigeria, right? Because why did Judge Bonifant? I don't know if there's a relationship between Judge James Bonifant and this Jide Iwarere. They're both, senior citizens, right? And by the way, Jide Iwarere, the age he uses in America is a fabrication. So he shouldn't have his citizenship. If Donald Trump is trying to revoke citizenship, they should do that for Jide Iwarere, because according to my family in Nigeria, and somebody who was lying was his relative, that person said it's not his relative. He's been looking for relatives, right? He's looking for relatives, poor man. The person said the guy is way over 80. He's old. My mom's 85 years old. They claim he's older than my mother. I saw his certificate of naturalization once, and I was stunned that his age was younger than his wife's age, which is not common in Nigeria. My culture, they don't do that. Maybe it's new now, but in my culture back then, it was like a taboo. Women wouldn't marry men younger than them. It just wasn't done. For his generation, no way, no way. When I inquired, they now told me no, 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 no. That's inaccurate. That's a false age he's using in America. So Jide Iwarere committed, a perjury also on his certificate of naturalization by using a false age. So that they said is at least 10 years older than the age he's been misrepresenting himself, to be. But importantly, though, I don't care about his age thing. He fabricated an emergency evaluation petition. Everything he wrote was a fabrication. At no time have I ever threatened to shoot him. At no time in the petition, by the way, he didn't say, well, he misled them. He misled them. He said that I said, if he comes to my house, he'll be shot. Right? So he misled them. That's not the same thing as saying, well, I will shoot him. And he was stressing that peccadillo, right? That was when I realized he'd gone crazy, that he was senile. The way he was stressing that little thing, because, it's Montgomery County, it's the police, they see that, so they misrepresented because the police officer misrepresented that in his charge statement. In his charge statement, he states that, well, that I said I was going to shoot him twice if he comes to my home. And when I read the charge statement to Jide Iwarere when I was arrested at the station the first day, right at the hospital, I'd been shot, I'd been brutalized, and then to be arrested, taken to jail for the first time in handcuffs, all of that stuff, the stress. When I read it to Jide Iwarere, he immediately said, in the presence of another Nigerian, he was a Sergeant Ajibade, that was his name. That guy heard. Jide Iwarere said, no, that's a mistake, that's inaccurate, and that's going to be corrected. So I'm an innocent man, and you see, just like the story of Naboth, right? How Jezebel, the queen of northern Israel, queen of Samaria, the wife of King Ahab, framed an innocent man, Naboth, because they wanted to appropriate his family's vineyard, right? And got eminent officials, to lie that he'd blasphemed, and they stoned him to death. But God didn't let Jide Iwarere kill me. So Jide Iwarere wanted to sabotage my career. He was jealous. You see, that's the thing. Envy in the Bible, it says, the Bible says envy is demonic. So Jide Iwarere was envious. I know why he was so envious, right? He was very envious that I was doing well about my career. He was extremely envious, right? He was extremely envious, and then he fabricated an emergency evaluation petition. He engineered an assault on me using the apparatus of state by crying wolf, and he conspired to manufacture a false emergency. The Ethiopians who he came with to assault me, his wife had told me ages ago that they had Ethiopian friends living in my building. There's another Ethiopian woman who lives on my floor, so she probably organized that guy to come and assault me, right? To help Jide Iwarere to come and assault me, right? The guy's a thug, an alcoholic drug. In fact, he's a drug user. Him and his son, the Ethiopians who came. I don't know them. I'm assuming they're Ethiopian because of the way they look, right? So they could be Somalian. I don't know, but they're both drug addicts, the father and son. You could see in they're alcoholics, at least. I know the guy, he throws up, because I've seen him throwing up by the elevator, leaves alcohol bottles in front of his door, right? They steal carts from the little restaurant, bring them in. On the day they assaulted me, and I called the police, Sergeant Charles Drengwitz asked them to return the cart, because that's what they do. They steal carts from the shopping center. I don't talk to them. They're losers. And those are the people Jide Iwarere came to assault me with, and they committed perjury. And you see how they abuse law enforcement. They abuse the legal system, abusive process in the state of Maryland, in Montgomery County at least. They have no respect for black people, right? And black people, these are black people who obviously don't respect themselves, right? They can't be happy. You know what? That's why they say some black people, they're crabs in a barrel. This is Black History Month. I'm getting to that. I've said all the laudable things of black people. Now let me get to the crabs in the barrel. So you can see Jide Iwarere, an example of crabs in the barrel. The Gurma Shumi, all these people, they're all black people. You see, the only the cops are whites. The cops didn't come to my home because I was doing drugs or doing anything, right? They ostensibly came because of this emergency petition, and they were saying it was my family for almost for 2 years. The judge, James Bonifant, who denied me the ability to talk, denied me my constitutional right to talk, right? Audi alterum partem. That's my right to be heard, right? Because he was just saying one side, saying, well, that I threatened to shoot my uncle, that my uncle was one who filed an EP against me, and I threatened to shoot him, that I called my home a military base. If I want to talk, he wouldn't let me talk because Jide Iwarere had gone to hire a crooked attorney, Steve Mercer, who lied to the judge that I didn't know what was going on, that I was delusional, and so the judge shouldn't let me talk. So for a whole year, over a year, what they were trying to do was coerce me to go and do a mental health evaluation and take treatment and get nostrums for an illness I don't have. Thank God I said no. Thank God he used the psychiatrist, the state psychiatrist that they sent me wrongfully to, and those ones told the truth. They told the judge, no, this man has no mental illness. We can't treat somebody who he has no mental illness. If he doesn't want to come to the hospital, that's his right. But Judge Bonifant maliciously falsified his reports and was saying I was hallucinating and doing things in court. I was hypomanic, was telling lies, committing perjury in his own court. A shameless old judge, just telling lies out of his racist and xenophobic heart. If he saw a white man who had my credentials, who'd worked hard, right? I haven't gone back to thank my parents. My father's late now. To thank my mother for the love she showed me that allowed me to succeed, even without my parents or my siblings in a foreign land, right? America. I came here. It was a foreign land to me. I'm an American citizen now, but from my character, I earned my citizenship. I worked hard. I earned my degrees. I earned the places I worked in, right? If it were his relative succeeded at my level, the way he's locked me up for 15 months, when they take me to court, I'm handcuffed, right? There are chains on my legs, like I'm a criminal. I haven't had any trial. Meanwhile, they filed 2 ex parte orders against me. I haven't had my chance to talk. And he would just be talking at me. Oh, why don't you want to take treatment? Why don't you have... At one time, he was defaming me in front of people. He would be shouting, oh, that I have bipolar disorder. Why don't you want to take treatment? You have bipolar disorder. Eventually, the doctor, Dr. Martin Brandis, on July 31, 2024, told him no, he doesn't have bipolar disorder. He doesn't have any mental illness. He was with us for 3 months. If he had a mental illness, we would have seen it. There were many psychiatrists there. Not one day did he show any manifestation or symptom of a mental illness. So Jide Iwarere had in fact, they accepted the false symptoms that Jide Iwarere had gone to write. Jide Iwarere went to write these fabrications, committed perjury on the emergency evaluation petition. Fabricated that he said I was hallucinating, said I was incoherent of talk or speech. By the way, Jide Iwarere is a stammerer. He's a stutterer. If you could barely understand what he's saying, you have to be very patient and try and figure out what he's saying when he's talking. You can go and see online and read the surveys, right, of his students, right, at Howard. They say he's incoherent. You can see the bitterness that this man felt towards me. You've got to be very careful, right? People you draw close to, very, very careful. Not everybody who smiles at you likes your success. Many of them want to kill you. Remember the story of Joseph. Today's today's Sunday, so I'm talking about Christian characters, right? You can learn character and secrets to success, to a good life, when you read the Bible. The story of Joseph, it was his own family, his brothers who were jealous of his success. He had just told them of the great promise God had shown him, and they wanted him dead. Jide Iwarere, on May 11th, I just told him that I just interviewed for a job where I was being offered Director of Financial Crimes, base salary of $250,000. I'd worked very hard, right? I'd worked very hard. I had, in my career, I had never cared about money, but I'd finally reached the point where, yes, I could settle down, and I was, getting in a relationship with someone, right? And I shared this information with him on May 11th. I didn't know it would trigger him. May 13th, he started acting crazy. May 14th, he came with someone who wanted to kidnap me, saying he wanted to take me to go and see a psychiatrist. He just went crazy. I don't know why he did it. And that's the man who's what is he? He's an elder at Forcey Bible Church. Be careful of their prophet, their pastors there, right? Is that how many people have they killed? How many people have they wrongfully committed? God was with me. That's why Jide Iwarere could not wrongfully commit me. He couldn't hold me down. He could get me there, but I would come out, right? God took me through the fire, right? The snares, the pits that he dug for me, God brought me out of them. Jide Iwarere is a false prophet. He's a perjurer, and I'm seeking justice. I reported him to the FBI, reported him to authorities, the state attorney's office. They charged him twice, but the corrupt state attorney, John McCarthy, is a crooked, maybe they're friends. They probably know each other. So John McCarthy is a crooked state attorney. My record is better than John McCarthy's. I'm a man of unimpeachable character. I'm a man of integrity. I came to this country, no support. I worked hard. Only God helped me. And because of my good character, good Americans supported me, had confidence in me, right? And that's all John McCarthy wants to destroy. He filed a malicious case against me just to defame me. Judge Bonifant should have dismissed it, but he didn't dismiss it because he wanted to extort me. Jide Iwarere was trying to get me killed. My mother's gone. We've gone to the United Nations. They reported him my mother took him to a Nigerian court of justice. My friends, people in the Nigerian government, they're waiting for him. They just want me to be back in Nigeria, and they'll file extradition for him to come and answer for his crimes in attempts to take over my family's assets through criminal intentions and attempted murder, conspiracy to cause me bodily injury, to defame me and commit murder. My name is Olurotimi Osha. I'll keep you posted.